Hey everybody, it's Frozen, and today I want to talk to you about my cook kit, food storage, and water filtration system that I used on my Appalachian Trail thru hike in 2019. So for me, I just really like drinking out of these two 1-liter smart water bottles. I had one designated for dirty and one designated for clean, which I would sip on throughout the day. When this ran out, I would just simply filter the dirty water in here into the clean water bottle and again drink from that or use it for my cook kit. Now I did see plenty of people using water bladders, pretty much a bite valve attached to a hose attached to a bag that goes inside your backpack. For me, I don't like the inconvenience that causes when you have to fill up, you don't know how much water you have left, and this just worked out perfectly fine for me. Now when I first started the trail, I did bring a dirty water bag. This is an Evernew 2-liter bag, so I would fill this up and then I would simply use this Sawyer squeeze, the full size, to filter the dirty water into my clean smart water bottles. However, at about, I'd say 1,100 or 1,200 miles in, I sprung a leak at the top of this valve. These just fail over time. Pretty much any dirty water bag is going to fail over time, but I still think Evernew is better than these stock Sawyer bags that you get with their filters. And this is the system I ultimately decided to go with after that bag broke. This was just really easy. I could filter whenever I wanted. I didn't have to filter at the stream, and I didn't have to worry about finding a way to attach, a bag of water onto my pack somehow. And this is the system that I will now use from now on. If I need to carry extra water, I maybe bring one of those bags. More than likely, I'll just bring an extra smart water bottle. Now, I did end up buying this Sawyer squeeze in Hot Springs, I believe, coming out of the Great Smoky Mountains, because I felt like there was a morning that this froze in my rain jacket pocket, which is where I stored it during really cold weather. It did get way below freezing multiple times on my trip early on, and you definitely want to keep these close, sleep with it at night, anything you can do to keep these from freezing, but I still felt that it froze early on. This lasted perfectly fine, and I was really surprised. I wanted to try something this time around with a brand new filter. I didn't run any tap water through here at all. So whenever I was in town, I actually brought an extra liter of water so I could back flush this filter with the smart water bottle cap. And for those that don't know, basically you put this cap on a smart water bottle and then you pair it, and it makes a really good seal, and then you can squeeze the water and back flush this without having that big bulky syringe. I saw plenty of people carrying it, and once I told them about this, they had dropped this syringe completely. The reason why I wanted to run just stream water through the filter was because I've had filters where I've back flushed them with tap water, and over the years they just keep getting slower and slower. I didn't notice any slowdowns in the filter that I used on the AT where I just ran creek water through. That being said, my filter lasted about 2,000 miles and I still plan to use it for upcoming trips. Other people in my family, however, who backflushed it with tap water ended up having to replace their filter, or they just kind of dealt with the slowness of it. So I think there might be something to it with the tap water. As far as my cook kit, it's pretty simple. What I had a Tokes titanium long-handled spoon. I love the long-handled spoons now. I'll never go back to a short handle. If you're thinking about switching, trust me, you'll love it. And it just had the little polished bowl, which I did like. It didn't scrape against your teeth as much. This is a pot cozy I've made for my pot. It's made from Reflectix. You can look in the video description below for a link to this stuff on Amazon, or you can find it at any home improvement store. Inside here, I carried my pot lid, which I really didn't end up using at all. More than likely, I would drop the pot lid, and if I really needed to cover something up, I would just use this Reflectix lid. Now, inside my pot is a canister. I usually carried 1.5 canisters, meaning once I felt like this was half empty, I picked up another small canister in town. Reason being, when I was carrying one canister, I ended up having to go to Walmart and had to get a big giant canister that ended up lasting me a month. I just didn't know where to put it. I couldn't fit it in my pot, and this was just the way I liked to do it. So I really prefer the small canisters. Most hostels sell these. Walmart sells the big ones. Most outdoor stores sell these along the way, Outfitters, etc., etc. Also inside my pot was my beloved BRS titanium stove. This is a $12 to $15 stove, and I put this up against a jet boil that Kathmandu is carrying. Keeping in mind that jet boils are pretty bulky and fairly expensive compared to the $15 BRS stove, and he basically boiled water 6 seconds faster than I did. Pretty good stove, highly recommend it. Didn't have any issues except Sometimes it was fickle, meaning when you turn the valve off, the flames would actually get higher. But for 15 bucks, what can you expect? And like I said, it lasted my full through hike. This is the bottom of my cozy, and this actually served a pretty good purpose. When I was having coffee in my Toke's 700 milliliter pot, which was completely perfect for my through hike, I didn't need any more or any less than this. I thought it was just perfect. I would put my oatmeal in here so I could drink coffee and then have my oatmeal out of here. And how I cooked my oatmeal was I simply boiled water in my pot, poured the water into the oatmeal packets, and then put the packets in here. And this worked out great. I had a little place to keep the oatmeal without burning my hands off. And like I said, this is just my pot. It's a titanium Toke's 700 milliliter pot with the handles, and it worked out great. And finally, how I stored my food. I stored my food in a light AF large food bag. This I felt was adequate for a 4.5 day supply of through hiker food. If you're just doing a backpacking trip, you know, for a weekend or a couple days, you could definitely get by with about 5, maybe 5.5 days of food in here. This held up surprisingly perfect, and what I really liked about this food bag is it has a flat bottom on it. So if you can see that, the bottom of the bag actually is flat. So what I would do with this, I obviously had my food in it. I needed a windbreak or something because it was windy and I was cooking on my stove. I would just put this bag in front of the stove to block the wind, and it was perfect for that. Now, I always hung my food or put it in the provided bear box when I was at the shelters. Some of the shelters in New Hampshire and Vermont, I believe, had bear boxes, so that's where this went. But every other time, except for maybe 3 or 4 nights where this just kind of lived on my hammock when I was at a stealth site, this would be in a tree. So every night in a tree, maybe minus 4 or 5 nights. And this was working out perfect, didn't have any rodent issues, and everything is really holding up fine. So for getting that bag into a tree, what I would do is I would have a rock sack by Light AF with a little carabiner on it. Carabiner held up great, no issues. It's actually a very solid carabiner. Obviously not for climbing as stated, but it's pretty nice. So that's the rock sack. And then in the rock sack, I would just store my 50 feet of Lawson reflective guy line. And this stuff is awesome. Sometimes I got food out of the tree early in the morning when I woke up, and this was nice. You shine a headlamp on this and it actually really reflects well. I actually was really glad that I opted for the full-size Sawyer Squeeze compared to the Sawyer Micro, because most people that I saw that went with the Sawyer Micro, at least the people that I was hanging around with, actually had to get 2, sometimes 3 more filters on their through hike. Don't run tap water through this. I think that helps the longevity of this, and I would still use this filter after the hike. But the Micro, I don't know why, it just got clogged up so fast. Like, it was fine one day, and then the very next day it was done, and they had to get a new one in town. So highly recommend, if you're on the fence between the Micro and the regular full-size Squeeze, just get the full-size Squeeze. It only weighs just a tad more, a couple grams, and this worked out perfect on my through hike. So everybody, thanks for watching. I'm Frozen, and be sure to check the description box below for helpful links to all the products that I just mentioned. Thanks guys, I'll see you on the trail.